Okay, and we're back. Let's talk about the teacher interview project. If you go back to your syllabus, under the key performance indicator where it talks about the purpose of the project, allow me to read that paragraph directly from the syllabus. And it says the purpose of the project is to assist students in gaining an informed understanding of the role of educators, um, the role of the educators and that they have relative to the homeschooling community of their students. And there's a typo in there, but that typo must have been there. Protocols. Students will engage in a personal interview with an individual in the school community who is currently or not too far removed, no more than I really would like no more than 1 year, but definitely not 2 years from teaching or professionally certificated role in a school outside of administration, principal / district personnel. So that means you may not interview a principal, assistant principal, or a district level leader for this particular activity. We want you to interview someone who is in the field that you are in. Now that goes back to where you see me at today. I'm at Westfield 712 today. This is the school for the behavioral disorders, the multiple disabilities, and also the emotionally disturbed. And as you know, that's a part of my research with regard to public perceptions of educators and how they impact student placement or student recommendations in programs such as these. It's important to me because I know sometimes that, I appear to be passionate and then to some degree probably opinionated with regard to the roles and responsibilities of future educators. I'm very much am. That's why it was important to me that I still maintain a contact with active school engagement as I teach these courses. I think it's easy for us as college instructors and professors to be disengaged or removed from the work that we don't actively participate in activities that will allow us to be informed purveyors of knowledge or experiences. So I'm going to give a shout out to two of the leadership studies professors in our School of Educational Foundations, Leadership and Policies. Dr. Galetta Horner and Dr. Christina Lavagna are in the process of planning a research project around school activities that will involve them being in schools. As instructors, professors, I think that our research activities, I think that our professional activities should some way lead us back to where students are, and that keeps us relevant. So I said all that to say this is that don't interview someone who's too far removed because they become disassociated. They become disassociated with the realities that are in our schools. I'm not going to read. There are a lot of bullet points, but here's my thing. I want you to select the areas that are most important to you. Certain things will be a no-brainer. You'll provide a person introduction of the person utilized for the interview. You'll describe the interviewee. You could ask for their personal convictions and philosophy of teaching and learning. You could discuss their I want you to discuss their educational background, professional history, analyze the school demographics and populations and culture. Describe the cultural diversity within the school. Define the culture from your perspective and provide examples. Student-centered versus teacher-centered. Provide a perspective of the teacher as it relates to the school. Now, this has been the sticking point, and a lot of past students have told me that in schools there wasn't any evidence that the district report card or that data was shared by the instructional leaders, quote unquote administrators, with staff. And so this data really, if it drives instructions, it's more indirectly than it is conspicuous. And those are things you could look for. Describe, analyze the perspective assessments. Go back to your syllabus. I will post a link, but then that will be doing things for you and not allow you to become the researcher or seeking out. Go to your syllabus, and it is online in Canvas, as well as it's online. So go under that and begin to pick the ones that are most relevant for me and you, and to convey your story. In the next slide, I'm going to provide you with sample questions. I'm actually probably going to link a Google document with sample questions for you to look at. At the end of Friday's session, your product will be identifying for me the person you're going to interview. And so that will be our assignment on Friday. So that is it for this slide. On the next slide, I'm going to briefly go through some of the categories or sample questions. I am actually adamantly opposed to providing sample questions because it's really crippling and it does not allow you to creatively construct your questions. However, people have asked for them. I'm not a fan of crippling learners. I'm a fan of divergent thinkers, people who think outside of the box. But there are some traditional learners who thrive on organization and clearly articulated perspectives and goals. And remember, I said a lot of this course is going to be from the quadrant D level, which is there are really no predefined outcomes other than the ones that I have to provide to the university, or I'm required by the university to provide. So the next slide, we're just going to briefly go over some of the sample questions, and then you get to begin to think about your interview project. And guess what? When I'm giving you these online days, take them to get your interview project done. It seems like that would be best, so you won't be stressed at the end of the semester. It's my goal that I don't want to stress you out, but it's also my goal that I want to at least give you from real world perspectives about where we are in education. I'm not going to be happy if our education system crumbles because it is not being sustained with effective educators who are culturally competent. That means you are able to relate to varying cultures. And Dr. Edgar Schein talked about how culture is more metaphorical than it is concrete, because you can have a bunch of people that have the same skin tone, but there be different cultures. And then you can have a bunch of people with different skin tones, and they all can be a part of common cultures. So culture is social, it is economic, it is ethnically influenced. But there's more to it than just the word culture. Culture cannot be defined in a succinct definition. Culture is relative. We build school culture. And so the time now is 10:24. I promise my next slide will only be 5 minutes. And part of it, you can give me the extra time because the only thing you have to do is to post your questions to the Google document. So there's not a lot of physical tasks that you have to do today other than just listening. So I promise to make the next slide shorter. But I'm in a school today where I visited every classroom. And when I said to one of the students, his name was Mr. Jackson. I said, well, I'm Mr. Scott. I'm subbing for your principal today. And he said, I don't know who my principal is. I've never seen her. Spoke volumes to culture. I shook hands with students. I told them how proud I was of them engaging. Remember, this is a school for emotionally disturbed students and behavior disorders. Culture is critical in your classroom and in your school. And guess what? I can tell that the principal doesn't visit the classrooms. It's apparent. I'll share with you in person how I can tell that. Next slide, please.